Welcome back to Hannity. So big changes are coming to the Republican Party. Late last week, John Boehner shook up the political world by announcing he is stepping down as the Speaker of the House.
This morning, I informed my colleagues that I would resign from the speakership and resign from Congress at the end of October. Now, as you've often heard me say, this isn't about me. It's about the people. It's about the institution.
Now, the Speaker has had his fair share of battles with conservative Republicans on Capitol Hill over issues like spending and challenging the president's liberal agenda. And now he's wasting little time attacking conservatives. Watch this.
Absolutely, they're unrealistic. But the Bible says beware of false prophets. And there are people out there, spreading noise about how much can get done. I mean, this whole idea that we're going to shut down the government to get rid of Obamacare in 2013, this plan never had a chance. But over the course of the August recess in 2013 and the course of September, a lot of my Republican colleagues who knew it was a fool's errand, really, they were getting all this pressure from home to do this. And so we got groups here in town, members of the House and Senate here in town, who whip people into a frenzy believing they can accomplish things that they know are never going to happen.
All right, joining us tonight are some members of the House Freedom Caucus. Those members are Representatives Raul Labrador, Mick Mulvaney, Mark Meadows, Cynthia Lummis is with us, and Dave Bratt and Scott Perry. Welcome, all of you. Congressman Meadows, you really got the ball rolling. There were many of your colleagues that questioned when you brought up the issue of a no-confidence vote with John Boehner back in July, if that was the right strategy. Do you believe that pushed it over the top?
Well, obviously it was a factor, Sean. I don't know that we can say that was the determining factor, but really the determining factor, in my opinion, was the American people. It's an approval rating that's abysmal among those of our own party that's saying we're not delivering on what we should be doing here in Washington, D.C., and that it doesn't work for them. So, if you can't change that, then you need to look at leadership, and that was what my resolution was all about. 60%
of Republicans in a Post poll this weekend, Washington Post, said they feel betrayed by the Republican Party. Let me ask you this. Do you think I am unrealistic? Am I a false prophet? Was there never a chance to defund Obamacare? Am I spreading noise and advancing a fool's errand by thinking you can defund Obamacare, use your constitutional authority, stop illegal, unconstitutional, the executive order of the president on immigration, and defund Planned Parenthood? Am I unrealistic? Am I a false prophet?
Well, certainly not. And I think most of that narrative, many of the things that you're talking about, were actually messages that came from our leadership team. It says we're going to fight tooth and nail. We're going to represent the will of the American people. And so that's what the Constitution is all about. It gives us the power of the purse. That's what we need to exercise here in the House. And I know a number of us are committed to do that.
Congressman Labrador, we kept hearing, Sean, we just disagree with tactics. We agree on the same thing. But ultimately, wasn't the tactic, didn't it evolve into surrender? You say you're not going to shut down the government. You're not going to use your constitutional authority in the purse. Didn't it mean Obama wins every time?
Well, that's the problem that we have. They keep saying that we disagree on tactics, and we actually disagree on strategy, and we disagree on the bottom line. Our leadership right now has been trying to fund Obamacare. They want to fund Planned Parenthood. They want to, at the end of this year, their goal was actually to undo the caps. They have a totally different strategy than we have here as conservatives. And what they have done is they make certain promises as candidates. And they go to the American people and they say, if you give me the House and the Senate, these are the things that we're willing to do for you. They're giving false hope to the American people. And then when we, as members of Congress, say, hey, we want to do those things that we promised the American people that we were going to do, then they get mad at us and they call us false prophets. I think that's really the fundamental problem that we have here in Washington, D.C., is that they're willing to say whatever they want to get elected.
Congressman Mulvaney, was it possible to defund Obamacare? Did you have the power? I read the Constitution that the power of the purse lies with Congress. Do I read it correctly? Did you have the ability to not fund that program that a vast majority of the American people dislike?
Absolutely. It's very straightforward that we have the ability to fund or defund whatever we don't want to fund. The difficulty was our leadership paid lip service to the efforts 2 years ago, but then clearly didn't believe it. Every single day we were told the message in our conference. Remember, we voted to fund the government. It's the Senate that shut us down. The Senate shut us down. And then a week after everything ended, John Boehner went on television late night and blamed it on us. Our leadership never believed that from the very beginning. Under those circumstances, no, we couldn't shut it down, but there's nothing constitutional that says we can't.
Congresswoman, where do you want to go from here? As a caucus, the House Freedom Caucus, you have enough members to prevent any one Republican from getting the majority to win that seat. What are you looking for in the next speaker? And will your caucus stay together, stand together in picking a conservative leader?
We're looking for someone who will restore regular order, which means the committees will do their work. They'll bring out a work product and bring it to the floor. It will have had a lot of advanced discussion. It will be adequately vetted, and then it will be brought to a vote on the floor. Not come directly from the Speaker's office, drafted by non-members of Congress, and go straight to the floor for a vote without amendment. That is what we objected to when Nancy Pelosi was Speaker, and unfortunately, that has not gone away since the Republicans took over. We also want to have a strategy for at least debating our better ideas for Obamacare, for border security, for spending, and how we manage this unsustainable debt and deficit. Yeah. Even if we just had a debate, we could show the American people that we have better ideas. We don't even debate those things.
Congressman Bratt, let's talk about strategy for helping to choose the next speaker. You still have time. John Boehner will be holding that gavel for a period of time. But do you want to slow walk this? Do you want to interview every candidate? And do you believe it would be smart for the House Freedom Caucus to stand together and choose a candidate together?
Yeah, I think it's very important. In Virginia, I ran on the Republican Creed, which has 6 principles. And so we want to interview all the candidates and ask them to put their ideas down on paper ahead of time. That's what the country's all about. The Constitution is kind of the first draft and first pledge on that. We had the Contract for America a long time ago, very popular. Our leadership, Speaker Boehner, Eric Cantor, had the Pledge to America that pledged to keep sanctions on Iran, to make progress on the budget. Eric Cantor, interestingly and kind of ironically, had a document called Keeping Our Commitments on Obamacare, and said that even if we can't get rid of it in all one swoop, we want to defund it piece by piece by piece by piece. That was a promise he made. And so now when some folks in leadership are saying that, well, we really can't keep those promises, our constituents differ with them. When we run on those things, it matters. And now that we're in office, and we expect our leaders to hold true on those as well. And so when it comes to picking horses, I don't think any of us are going to commit right here, but I think all of us are very attached to the idea that we want our leaders to put their ideas down on paper. We want to share those with the American people. Right, and that's what this country's about.
Congressman Perry, let me ask you, on the 4 issues that I think they have really failed the conservative base and broken promises, that is defunding Obamacare, stopping executive amnesty, defunding Planned Parenthood, and stopping Iran from getting $150 billion. Do you have any hope as this debate moves forward with the CR and further spending and the debt limit? Do you have any hope that any of those things will be accomplished?
Well, listen, clearly the system is broken, which is what's led us to this point today. I think the great news is that while all those things are on the table, or at least some of them still are in some fashion, that this is a conversation about the leadership of this august body and this operation where the American people can get engaged. The longer it goes, the more that the American people will know who the candidates are, what they stand for, and they can speak to the representatives and say, look, this person doesn't represent what I believe in or the way we want to go. We want you to stand firm on this, and this person doesn't show that he or she is willing to do that. It's about getting the system fixed so that the American people have the voice, so that they elected us to make tough decisions on intractable problems. And what they see is a bunch of messaging. There have been some victories along the way. They're fairly small. The problem is that they don't really echo what most people think about, what they lose sleep about every day. Right, that's where we fail.
Let me pan and look at the whole group here. Seems that the leading candidate is the House Majority Leader, Kevin McCarthy. How do you all feel in a word about Kevin McCarthy? Congressman Meadows, we'll start with you. One word. We got to move fast.
Inclusive.
Okay. And Congressman Labrador?
He's not ready yet, but he could be.
Okay. Congressman Mulvaney?
That was more than one word.
That was more than one word, yes.
Fair.
Well, that's like Joe Biden saying a three-letter word, jobs, J-O-B-S, but that's okay. We'll forgive you.
I think we can count on Kevin to be fair at the very least.
Congresswoman?
Good listener.
Okay. Dave Bratt?
Just want to see the principles on paper ahead of time.
And Congressman Perry?
I think he would be engaged.
All right. Thank you all for being with us. We're going to watch this process very, very closely. Thank you all for being with us.